Hello, everybody. Welcome to another fantastic episode of I'm Gonna Talk and You're Gonna Listen. Um, there's a lot to talk about, and where to start? What do I usually start with? I guess house cleaning. I released Ghost Company 2, and as always, it takes forever for the author to get their own books, but they ship to people who purchase them immediately. So, waiting to hear back on how that copy looks. I'm going to be working on kind of like a table that explains the books for the back. I actually feel like I have one because I feel like this has come up before, and I thought of a different way of organizing it though, so I'm going to be working on that at some point very soon and putting that at the end of each book, along with putting the table of contents at the beginning of each book, and probably trigger warnings for book number 16 and 17. Something you newer folks might not know, but only one person's ever read my entire series and nobody ever makes it past book 17. Despite my best efforts, that's being the book I rewrote the most. Besides my very first story, nobody ever gets past it. Can't blame them. It's a really tough book to get past. Maybe if I write better trigger warnings for it, maybe people will get past it. I don't know. Let's talk about really quick my metrics since my computer's on and there's no giant storm going on right now. I remember where I've been keeping that file. I've gotten a better grasp on my audio editing, so I think my audio editing, my vocals should be like a million times better from now on. Well, I hope anyway. I haven't heard anybody say otherwise. I'm just scrolling through trying to remember where I put that dang file. Maybe I'll just pause this. Yeah, I'll just pause this. Oh, I remember. It's because I have no idea where this thing saves it. Okay, so I don't know if I want to necessarily throw this up on the screen or not. I'll decide later. I don't even know how many people watch the, since there's really nothing to watch. But basically, I had 34 people in this last survey. I have a new survey. We'll do reader stuff first. So the last survey I did, I had 34 people that self-identified as readers-ish, 13 people that self-identified as writers, and then an additional 26 that said they read and wrote. So my point to my algorithms last time is that the I apologize. The Twitter X algorithm is way more complicated now that Musk has taken over. It's dramatically changed how it worked, and it doesn't decide whether things are good or bad like YouTube's does. It doesn't pick winners and losers. It works the way that YouTube's algorithm used to work, where if you looked for XYZ conspiracy theory, that's all it would feed you. I don't know how many of you remember that, but that's how YouTube's algorithm used to work. They found out that that was extremely problematic because there was no way to get out of that loop. So if you looked for MLM stuff, all of a sudden that's all you'd get. If you looked for, phone scam stuff that, call it scam baiters, That used to be like all you'd get. There is a lot of instances of this. I can't even remember them all. If you start looking for music videos, that's all you get. They realized that was extremely problematic because bad people were looking for bad things, and all it would do is feed them bad stuff. And YouTube took a very long time to fix that. Eventually, they did. Excuse me, but the advent of that is sometimes YouTube chooses the winners and losers. Sometimes it'll have toxic positivity, and that's all it'll feed. Sometimes it'll have toxic negativity, and that'll all be all that it feeds. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. There'll be a video game that's objectively terrible, but every video will be toxic positivity. There'll be another game that's semi-decent, but every review will be overwhelmingly negative. This has been proven many, many, many times. So Twitter X does not work this way. Twitter X works the old way that YouTube used to work. So my point is, if you're able to follow along, there is no way to cheat the algorithm on Twitter X. If you are a writer, you are only going to be talking to other writers. That means there's no way to cheat the system and advertise to purely readers. So out of the 6,000+ views and roughly 100-ish responses that I got, a quarter of those were like 50-50 readers and writers, and then about a third of them were pure readers. Those are okay odds. The problem is, I think my suspicion is a lot more writers didn't respond. I got a lot of really, really, really snarky comments, and I couldn't tell if they were necessarily from readers or writers, or if they were just like bullshit artists. But my suspicion is that a lot of the writers just sat and watched. They were frustrated that I used their tag, and they kind of saw me as encroaching on their territory, and they didn't know how to react. They think their methods are working, but their methods are not resulting in any sales or any engagement at all. All of the engagement that the writers are doing is fake, and it's useless, and everybody knows it. And the only people stupid enough to fall for it are all of the other writers. I think the Twitter X algorithm knows this, and it does not feed these people to the readers. Because I think it knows, A, that the readers don't want to see a bunch of crying, whining, desperate, thirsty, sweaty, armpit, basement dwelling, parents' basement writers, right? That are, they just have no clue what they're doing except for writing about forests and sand and mountains and all the bullshit that all the idiotic gatekeeping woke editors have told them that they're supposed to be writing about, but we'll get to that later. And I think the algorithm on Twitter has steered all the readers away from them, and it's virtually impossible to tap into that. You kind of barely can, but not enough to make a dent. More likely, you're going to, if you're lucky, run into a quarter of this population who are readers and writers. But here's the problem. I tried to talk about this last time. I'm not sure how much it made sense. Most of that quarter of the writers that are also readers are thoroughly pissed off at all of the other desperate, whining, crying, sniveling, bitch ass writers on Twitter who only want to suck. They're parasites. They don't want to help anybody. They have fake engagement all day, asking stupid rhetorical questions but leaving out the obvious thing wrong, trying to get people to respond, trying to pin for pin each other's shit, trying to ask what an image is, even though everybody fucking knows that that's not what the image is. Everyone knows the mountain's a dog. Like, everyone has said what their favorite video game is like 1,000 fucking times. Like, that engagement shit does not work. And they keep doing it. And the algorithm lets them do it and throws them into a black hole where there's no engagement. They don't know it. And I would argue that the other readers who actually want to support each other, the algorithm has ran them down some other stream too, is my suspicion, because I'm able to engage with them somewhat, which is good. Meanwhile, I see all these other basement dwellers still writer supporting each other every day over and over and over and over and over. Side note, Twitter sees this as spam, and it sees this as gaming their system to get further reach. They don't see it as organic engagement. And I would surmise that these people are actually probably all shadow banned and don't even know it. Because it's going to see the same people engaging with the same people over and over and over. And I got a notice from Twitter, and it's hard for me to say because this happened right around the same time as something else, which we'll get into in a little bit. Oh, where is that note that I got? It says, why does my account have a label? We have found that your account may contain spam or be engaging in other types of platform manipulation. You may not use X's services in a manner intended to artificially amplify, suppress information, or engage in behavior that manipulates or disrupts people's experience, or platform manipulation defenses on X, whatever that hell that means. Platform manipulation defenses? Like nobody's going to know what that is unless they're a Twitter engineer, but I digress. Part 2. What does this mean for my account? The reach of your account may be limited, and its contents may also be temporarily restricted, such as being excluded from trends, replies, and recommendation notifications. You click platform manipulation, it doesn't tell you anything. You click learn more, it doesn't tell you anything. And there's no way to repeal this, and there's actually no visible flag on the account at all. And yet you get this message. I asked anyone else if anyone else got this message, but I'm shadow banned, so my message doesn't go to anybody. That being said, I ironically still get all of the writer's lift stuff. And even though I've been checked for spam and I've had to do tests to reactivate my account twice, the first time I really was spamming, trying to learn this algorithm. The second time, there was actually a big psyop going on that had nothing to do with writing at all. And I suspect that completely unrelated thing got my account nuked the second time. The reason why I think it was that is because I don't see any of the psyop stuff on my feed. Zero. All of the psyop stuff, and I'll explain it in a minute. 100% of it disappeared. It's like it doesn't even exist. Even though the accounts are still there. Well, some of them, I didn't check all of them. And there's still hundreds of people talking about this. But I don't see it on trending. And zero of it is in my feed, but I still have all the writers list stuff. And I can still talk to all the writers just fine. So I think this whole, what did they call it? This, I shouldn't have closed it quite yet. This platform manipulation defense. Whatever this thing is, I'm guessing it's some kind of AI that Twitter has that detects when stuff's popping off and it shuts it off. It shuts off the what do we call this? The for you, not the following, but the for you. It eliminates every single thing that has to do with it in your for you feed. And without that for you feed, you're not reaching anybody on Twitter unless they're following you. And all the 5,000 people you got from your fake engagement aren't actually looking in their following feed at all. They're probably all looking in the for you feed, since that's how the endorphin loop goes from just scrolling all day and getting constant endorphin hits over and over and over and over and over. They're not doing the following thing at all. They're looking for race bait fight videos, or they're looking for stupid viral videos that have been shown a billion times that people reshare 2, 3, 4 times. Everyone's stealing each other's shit and resharing it, trying to get this engagement that doesn't go anywhere. Because here's what happens. Everyone does that fake engagement bullshit, and the algorithm puts everybody that interacts with that fake engagement bullshit into that swim lane. And you're just stuck there, just like how YouTube used to work. You're stuck in this idiotic viral video swim lane in Twitter forever. Which means if you're an author, that means there's no readers in there. No readers are going to follow you. It's going to be idiots following you because you showed some race bait fight video or something. And that's another thing that happened. There is a video of a young schoolgirl getting beat within an inch of her life, and that disappeared from the entire Twitter feed in under a day. Gone. It's like it just ceased to exist. I never even commented on it. Just one day it was there, and the next day it was like it never existed. And then that next day is when this stupid psyop thing happened. So we'll go into that because you're like, shut up, get with the point. Supposedly some gal from nowhere that nobody's ever heard of talked shit about this other gal. This other gal happened to be in very, very, very deep with an extremely rich and powerful grifter merch company. And I'm not going to say their name because that's a challenge dealing with them. But their roots are very, very deep. The web is huge of how many different grifter companies and different grifter influencers they have. And they're so big and they're so widespread that nobody even really knows how many people have done enough research to know how deep this web of influencers all tied to this company go, but it's massive. So this was trending on my feed for 2 days. Right after that, girl got her head smashed into the pavement, and then all of a sudden, like, I noticed, oh, people are commenting on this. Like, everyone talks about like distractions, right? Like something like really shocking will happen, and then all of a sudden there'll be like a distraction immediately after. I'm not saying these two things are related, but it's weird what the algorithm did. So it's like some people noticed a couple weeks ago, it's almost like Twitter just changes channels. So it was, everyone was freaking out about prologues, like the prologues in books for a couple days. And then everybody was freaking out about Starship Troopers for a couple days, which is like a recurring theme that always comes from people freaking out about Starship Troopers because they're Nimrods. And some days there aren't anything, and the algorithm doesn't really know what to feed everybody, but today everyone's losing their shit about the stupid ass new Godzilla movie that looks like dog shit. And then yesterday it was the X-Men 97, which looks like dog shit. Like, and that's kind of ironically closer to how Facebook's algorithm used to work, where it would trend whatever people were like pissed off about that day. Now people are talking about the Patriot Act because of the whole TikTok thing. I don't want to switch gears yet. My point is, sometimes it seems, I would guess that Twitter can like defend itself, or it can like, it can defend people, or people can, someone in Twitter can tell it to defend people. A lot more than it used to be able to. Like, certain three letters had people at Twitter and they could just make anything disappear. I think this is like a vastly advanced version of that. There are still ways of tricking it though, but you have to be like 10 times smarter than everybody else. Because drama, I got a couple friends out there that know what I'm talking about. You can stir up some fake drama and you'll get hits for a couple days, but it's not long lasting. You can get there's an amazing South Park episode about this, about troll trace. Like, the best trolls in the world are the ones that can cause like self-sustaining trolls where everybody's upset and everybody else. It's complicated. Matt and Trey explain it way better than I ever could. So Facebook was really good at that. Twitter is not though. I mean Facebook couldn't stop that, and so that worked really well on Twitter, especially during the elections when there'd be a troll on each side, both playing a different role, loop everybody in, and then they would disappear. This was very popular on forums. Forum hijackings were very, very common this way. You can't do this on Twitter. Not for more than a day or two. The whole thing will just cease to exist. It's like the outreach that it has almost like a kill switch, to where like once something starts going viral, it's like a timer starts. Because I was getting really, really, really good engagement, and I would bet you for something to have more than, let's say, 8, 9, 10 hours in your For You, it would probably have to be trending all the way around the world the entire cycle so it could still come back the next day. So I don't know. Not very much does that, you know. I mean, there's the war in Palestine. There's the war in Ukraine. But I mean, nobody's like super triggered about that stuff. I mean, a couple people are, but it's not like I don't know. I mean, even the just the rampant crime in New York, like there was a really really bad thing that happened on the New York subways again, and like shit, it like didn't even trend for an entire day. It may as well has ceased to exist as far as like social media is concerned, and in fact, the whole thing with the National Guard in the subways, that's like a ghost in the machine now. Like that may as well have not even happened. It's very weird, the way Twitter works. And you might be like, wow, this is like a massive tangent. Like, what the hell is your point? We can't keep track of your brain. My point is you can't trust this. No, my point is that all this farming for engagement on Twitter does not work. And I just explained about 20 reasons why. If you want actual, legitimate engagement, you can't show people an N64 every fucking day. You go, what's the first game you think of? Every fucking... Show a GameCube. Show a PlayStation. Because every single day, there's 2 or 3 people showing a fucking PlayStation going, what's the first game you think of? Because all Twitter's gonna do, if you keep responding to that shit, thinking that you're farming for engagement, it's just gonna put you with all the other people showing fucking PlayStations. And that's why people complain about all the comments sections looking the same. It's because they are. If you start looking for crypto shit, that's all you're gonna get. And you're gonna see the same shitcoin, ETH scams. You're gonna see, except you're gonna see 20 or 30 of them a day. That's like how the system protects itself. It keeps everybody in these neat little lanes. And that's also how their system stays monetized through ads. They keep everyone in their lanes, so there's no way for you to reach anybody else without paying to get out of your lane. Unless you can figure out ways of getting out of your lane. That's really hard. So you have to make a Twitter post that broadens your scope outside of the lane that you're stuck in, or you have to get somebody from a different lane, or somebody who's not shadow banned, to retweet your shit or quote your shit into like a different lane, right? And so that's what this survey, well, I didn't tell everybody it was a survey, but what they don't know doesn't hurt them. This is actually going to help people in the long run. They just have to trust me. So I thought I was going to find people that were just screaming into the void. That's how I framed it. That was on purpose. That was a calculated guess that the readers were going to say that they were stuck into the void, right? Which they are, and I empathize with them because I'm a writer stuck in the void, because I'm a writer stuck in the void too. And I knew that was going to go to the other writers because I have been farming engagement for writers for weeks. So I knew it was going to go to the writers. But it went to writers who are also readers. They were responding. Since some of them were readers, presumably they've been talking to other readers, and it was able to pull the other readers in. And then voila, which is French for, and there you go. So I managed to reach 3 groups with that. Hooray for me, the algorithm still cut me off after about 8, 9, 10 hours. I still was getting responses the next morning, though, because of people who hadn't seen my responses the day before, so it went a little bit into the next day, but not much. Why this works so well for any of you who are still following this, hopefully, is I not only got positive responses, but I also got negative responses, but none of it was toxic. It wasn't like, F the new Godzilla movie, it's going to be dog shit, which it is. Or like, hey, the Godzilla movie is going to be great, which it's not, right? Instead, or Pacific Rim is a great movie, even though it's dog shit, or Resident Evil 4 Remake is a great, no, it's fucking dog shit, or all the people arguing about Resident Evil 5 being remade, even though it doesn't need to be. And then people try to bring up, anyway, blah, blah, blah. The point is like, with this, everybody's responses were like all over the board, positive and negative, on like a massively broad scale. So while 14 readers said that they loved the synopsis or the blurb or the back of the book, other people started telling me that they didn't. So there was 14 that said they did, and there was 1 that said that they didn't. There was 12 people that said the genre and topic were important to them, but there was 1 that said it wasn't. There was 10 that said the book cover was important, but there was 3 that said it wasn't. There were 4 that said the book title was important, but there was 1 that said it wasn't. There was 2 that said reviews were important, but there was 4 that said the reviews aren't important. And I mean, the list goes on. Like, I have this huge matrix that I did. A lot of people cared if it was indie. They don't want to read commercial shit anymore. There's a lot of people that wanted to know if the author was interesting or not. There was a lot of people that said they don't even go on the internet for books. They just go to the library. A lot of people are recommendations and words of mouth, which means advertising doesn't do anything. In fact, not a single person said advertisements. Not a single person said advertisements. There was a couple people that said they like to get advanced copies, but there was people that said they don't want advanced copies. They don't like it. There was someone that said they don't. Oh, there was a couple people that said they don't listen to the reviews at all. And they said they hate reviews on the back of the books. And there's a lot of people, myself included, that just read the first paragraph and they can pretty much tell. And there's a lot more. I think we talked about trigger warnings, immersion, price to value, like, is it a really expensive book that's really short? And the writers told me a lot of stuff too. The writers shared a lot of their own frustrations, which I didn't expect. And they hear a lot of stuff. And we can get into that some other time. I don't know how many writers are actually listening to this. If you are listening to this, just know I feel your pain, and pretty much every single thing I've ever said or felt is something every single writer said somehow. So Just know, writers, that I'm trying to figure this out. Don't lose hope. Don't make any permanent decisions based on the fact that people aren't reading your books. One interesting thing is like that I didn't seem to capture until I talked to people later is print versus Kindle Unlimited versus that's a whole Kindle Vella. That whole thing's a mess. We'll talk about that some other time. So this leads us to experiment numero dos. Now that I know how to reach across the aisle and grab people, and now that I know what the readers want, you probably want to know the secret sauce, right? Like, oh, I'm going to become like the top writer in the world now and just gatekeep all this information and build the giant moat and just screw all the other writers, and the writers should have just tried to steal all the readers right there. Well, it's good that they didn't, because the readers really trusted everybody and everyone was on their absolute best behavior. And that blows my mind. There wasn't a single writer that tried to poach anybody, any other readers. Everyone was extremely gentlewomanly. So you might ask what I'm doing. The first thing is researching libraries. There's two different types of libraries. I think I talked about that last week. Making sure, I don't know how interesting of a person I am, but making sure that enough of me is out there to where people can try to make a decision. And a lot of that is like actions, not words. If writers are just doing engagement farming, or they just say, read my book, it's a space opera. Dude, I don't care. I don't give a shit. Especially when I look at the price. I'm like, oh wow, a $5 space opera. I'm just like, that tells me nothing. Like, that tells me that you're not paying attention, you know. So just go back to sleep. Go put your head back down and cry in your sandwich. So your cover has to line up with your genre, which have to line up with the synopsis and the blurb. That's the next big thing I need to work on. My synopsises and blurbs, and the book cover stuff's almost done. I think I have pretty good titles. I have no idea. Yeah. I have my books in one library now, where they used to be in zero, and I'm working on more. There's private libraries, public libraries. Forget about bookstores. They seem to be in their own universe. I've never had any luck dealing with them. Yeah. So, experiment number 2. You're probably wondering what experiment number 2 is. I think a lot of people said this, and it didn't sink in at the time. If you're a good writer, you need to be a good reader as well. If you want other writers who are also readers to support you, you need to be ready to support other writers who are also readers. And some of the most successful people that I know in my entire life, they all collaborated. They worked together, whether it was someone below them or above them, and they collaborated. You have to find people who want to work together. And some of them could be like a lot earlier on, and some of them could be a lot later on. but you have to be actively searching for people who want to work together, which means you have to be ready to offer, excuse me, you have to be ready to offer something that they all need. And hopefully, in turn, they will all help you. And if you ask the right questions and frame it right and offer to help them with the exact same thing that you need help with, you are a lot more likely to reach across the aisle and find the people that you need to work with. And those same people will be the most likely to work with you. And so the next thing I'm doing, I'm going to start tab number 2 of this thing, and I'm going to start writing down all the authors who are also readers, who it looks like I may be able to work with based on how they're responding to my next to part 2 of this experiment. So far, it's going really well. Excuse me. It's almost 1 in the morning. It's been a long day. I'll share a lot more with that later because I kind of don't want to spoil it. But some of you know what it is because some of you have already followed me here and listened to this. So if you're listening, you are part of the resistance, of author resistance. So it does mean you have to be ready to put your money where your mouth is, but I suspect, based on what some of the reader writers said in my last unofficial, not a survey, is they were tired of buying other authors' stuff and expecting something in return. That is not how that works, because there are a lot of absolute sociopath writers out there that are only out there to get paid. In fact, they were extremely forthcoming saying, God told me to do this. And I'm like, you don't even have control over your own book. You hand it off to somebody else and you don't even know what they do with it. Did God tell you to do that too? Well, I don't care what people do with this afterwards. I'm like, okay, then God didn't tell you to write this book for people, you idiot. And there was a lot of stuff like that where they act like these super holier than thou. But then they ship the book off to the editor and then they don't even read it. And they just sit there and collect money and work on that. It's just a passive income for them, right? So those people are never going to collaborate with you, just like a bunch of certain group of people who like to sell their albums on the streets. They're never going to want to collaborate with you. They don't even care if you like their music. They just want to get paid, and they just want to do their hustle. And it's nothing personal. They're not scammers. Even though you don't always get the right CD in the right jewel case or whatever, they mean well. They're not evil people. They just want to get paid, and they don't want to collaborate. You have to be able to parse out with authors. You have to be able to parse that out. Most of them, not all of them, most of them are so high and mighty, they've already made it. They're acting just like video games. They're acting like they're indies. They're not. They have publishers. They're just fine. They're in the top 100 of their genre because either they're a good writer or they're lucky or they have a good book cover or they have a good publisher, whatever it is. They're not going to ever work with you because it's just going to bring their brand down. That doesn't mean that you have to work with a bunch of unknowns who are zero either, because no matter what level you're at, you're going to run into other people that are struggling. So only like the top 1% of authors really get to just sit there and say stupid things on Twitter. Stephen King. You know, like actors, like the same way, like they don't. That's not slander. What I mean is like they don't have to worry about what they say impacting their brand. Most authors have to at least be semi-conscientious of who they're trying to collaborate with, or who they talk to, or what they like. You know, collaborating is a massive risk. You never know. Um, Usually, for every bonus, every positive, there's going to be several negatives. It's extremely hard to mitigate exposure, right? So, doesn't matter. Doesn't seem to matter what you're working in. I mean, this seems more insulated than most things, but you have to, just for your own safety, your own family safety, you have to put many, 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 many layers between yourself and people who you're collaborating with. So I am certainly not suggesting that everybody trade reviews with each other, but I think you are more likely to find like-minded authors by explaining your situation and trying to find other authors in your situation. Get rid of all the fake engagement. Get rid of all the writer's lift crap. Unless you want to just use the hashtag writer's lift, but actually be working on actual collaboration and not this stupid, I'll boost your signal. Those people can't boost your signal to anything because they're all stuck in the same swim lane as you, which is why you can see all their shit. That does not help you. You have to actually be reaching across those swim lanes and collaborating with people on actual things. And again, I think that's why I got the nasty gram from Twitter, because I think I was talking to some people about some PSYOP stuff. And we were all talking about the same PSYOP going on at the same time. And I think it hit a nerve with the Twitter AI, and I think it put us all out of that swim lane. So I don't know if Twitter doesn't like you being in multiple swim lanes at once. But I mean, I talk about video games, and I talk about books, and I talk about movies, and it seems to be okay with that. But as soon as this PSYOP thing happened, that's when I got flagged. So my suspicion is you have to stay in very similar lanes, like comic books. Comic books, movies, video games, like it wants, if you're a consumer, it wants you to stay as a consumer. Which is why I keep seeing like stupid comic book shit all the time, even though I don't care. But it doesn't know that I don't care. It can't figure it out. So that was kind of two giant things blobbed together. Yeah, I kind of don't remember where I was going to go from there. I feel like there were some other things. Gardening's going good, but we're going to have more storms. I think I'll cut this here and take a drink of water and see if I can remember. It wasn't homestead stuff. I'll look around for my notes. Bibbidi bobbidi boop. Part 2 of this, I suppose. My second survey is well underway, and so far I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 responses. and I'm not going to name names, and hopefully by the time this video posts, I'll have a lot more responses in the next day or two. But even if I don't, I still think this is a pretty good result so far. So out of 6 responses, basically I asked the question like, I've been reading people's books from this writer's lift thing, and I'm looking for other writers in writer's lift who read each other's books, because I've been reading other books in the writer's lift, and so I'm looking for the other writers that are readers that are reading from writer's lift, because I know there's some from the last survey that I did. And so from there I've got 6 so far, but you can tell that some of them can't read, and well, some of them can't read the post, and they just don't understand, or they don't care. So I didn't dig too much into these, but spoiler alert: so far I bought 3 of them, and they were all affordable. I feel like I was kind of clear the first time I talked about this, that like buying just like really expensive Kindle books right off the bat to try to like introduce yourself into a story is really unreasonable to ask people. You should have an intro story that's really affordable. I tried to make a post about that, but I don't think it got to anybody. But I thought that was really well known in all the author circles, and yet there will be authors that want to put their first story at like $5, $8. I don't know who's going to just get into a story from an author they don't know and pay that much. So I guess we can talk about that later. Anyway, this first one, they linked to some website I didn't recognize, and it was just a picture of the ocean. And they said it was a 10-minute read, and that's all they said. And I don't think, I thought I was abundantly clear, like, I'm looking for, other folks in Writer's Lift who actually read books. And so they didn't do the homework assignment. Clearly they're just trying to hawk their story. This next one, the price is right, 99 cents. Your first story should be 99 cents. Even if you intentionally, purposefully write a shorter intro story to get people in. Anywhere between 99 cents and $1.99 is how you want to get people in. And it's not a bait and switch. It's so there's like a low barrier of entry and a low risk to them, if that makes sense. Like, I would rather buy 5 stories for 99 cents and, like 1 or 2 of them. And then that way, if people don't like mine, they don't feel like they have to return it. Anyway, so 99 cents, good on them. They tell me right about the story right away. They say it's part of a series. They tell me the name of the series. They put the genre right there. And as you all know now from my last survey, having the genre right there is the most important thing. They interestingly link to my book, and I noticed this became a recurring theme. I'm guessing my book is kind of like Linktree, where it tracks the pass-throughs. So I'm going to be checking that out. So hey, I learned another thing. I'm learning a lot doing this. This probably isn't a very traditional way of learning things, but it's a very organic. I can't think of the right word. It doesn't matter. So this next one, same thing. They linked to their My Books also, and they said they wanted to collab, and theirs were a little more expensive. They were $2.99, but they had a really nice graphic that explained their books. I'd never seen that before, and that worked really well for me. I'm a visual person, but also like a lot of other readers complained about this too. Like hunting and pecking for the info about your book, people are just going to get sick and tired of it. And quite frankly, so am I. It is really annoying. Amazon does an okay job at combining all the info, but if you can't even find their Amazon page and it goes to like their own website and their website sucks, which every author page I have ever seen sucked big time. That's a long story. Anyway, so yeah, it was like $2.99 for their first one. That's a little outside the range that I wanted to go for. I would have rather them be $1.99, but $2.99 is not terrible. And also, side note for the rest of you, $2.99 means they have their rate set to 70 cents, which means they make $2 off of that. Unless Amazon decides to screw them, which can happen, but not very often. If it's set to 99 cents or $1.99, that means they only get like 30%, which means they get between 30 and 60 cents, which is like nothing. But people are reading your book, and that's still more than Kindle Unlimited. So $2.99 is like a little high, but that's also the absolute bare minimum for 70 cents. If I was them, I would write a shorter story that introduces them to the universe and set it to like between 99 cents and $1.99. They won't make as much, but it'll be easier. There'll be less of a barrier for entry. This next one, they asked if I was looking for Kindle Unlimited, or do I care? That was actually a good question. Kindle Unlimited is like highway robbery, but I know there's some people who just binge read who use it. We as authors don't get paid anything we get paid next to nothing for Kindle Unlimited, but we wouldn't be reaching those authors anyway. I mean, those readers anyway. So the fact that they get to read it and at least we make something, it's like, we wouldn't have made that money anyway. So better to make like 10 cents off a story instead of nothing. But anyway, they said they have a few to choose from, and $1.99 is the right price. And after I talked to them a little bit, they said that they liked that mine was only 99 cents. I don't know if they checked mine out or not, but it sounds like they were. So that was pretty cool. And this next one, they didn't say anything about collaborating. They said it was short, affordable, and to the point. It was affordable, but here's the problem. They completely lied and misrepresented their genre. It was a very, 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 very spicy fringe genre, and that is not the genre that they said it was. They said it's an urban fantasy, not sci-fi, urban fantasy. It was not urban fantasy. As soon as I clicked on it, I was like, that book cover could be maybe a couple different things. No, don't misrepresent. I wouldn't have had a problem reading it and checking it out if they had been honest. But number one, I didn't ask for urban fantasy. I asked for sci-fi, and so that strikes me as the kind of person that thinks everybody should read their stuff, and that they shouldn't. If you're gonna lie to people about your genre, and you're gonna try to pitch your genre to people who didn't even ask for your genre to begin with, that actually sounds like a very, very certain specific kind of person that most of the planet doesn't want to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And so, no, that's a big fat nope. Big ol' nope. Next one, $3.99 for a space opera sound good? No, it doesn't sound good. It sounds really overpriced. And telling me it's a space opera doesn't tell me anything. Um, to me, that sounds like a 500,000 page pretentious, but I didn't even look it up. I don't want to look it up. And they didn't even bother to put the Amazon link, so I'm not going to go search for it. Um, yeah. So the other reason I don't, at least until I check out my book, I didn't click any of those links because I don't know what that information collects when I click through it. I'm sure that one's actually legit though. I bet you it's like Linktree, but I look into those more to make sure they're not. I'm sure they're tracking stuff. I just don't know how much they're tracking. It's probably only tracking that I came from Twitter. But if it's tracking more than that, I want to check first. So I searched for those myself, and I found them in 2 seconds. A couple of them were like UK Amazon, and America Kindle absolutely freaks out when you try to get something on Kindle UK. So I have to search for those. That's not a big deal. But if you just say $3.99 for space opera sound good question mark, no, it doesn't sound good. It sounds like a hassle, especially if you're not going to put your Amazon link. That's way too expensive. Yeah, it could be the best book in the world. It could be a 300,000 word mega epic masterpiece, but you don't tell me anything about it. And it's too expensive. You need a lower barrier of entry. So that's what I've got so far for survey number 2. So I have a helper buddy. You know who I am. Thank you for helping me boost that. I think that I think that a lot of people appreciate you for boosting that since I got shadow banned. This is probably going to be my last survey that I do. I think survey kind of experiment. I think I've got a pretty good idea now. The first experiment told me what to do, and then the second experiment's helping me find the other people who are working their way towards these things also with different varying distances in their journeys so far, I guess you could say. So, anywho, I always learn a lot talking to other authors, and this was a way for me to find some authors who actually want to collab and not just mooch off of me. And if anything, this proves exactly what I've been talking about, because out of 6 of the authors I talked to, actually I talked to 7. I talked to 7. The 7th one didn't even try to sell me a book. They just wanted to talk. So that maybe they wanted to pick my brain. I don't know. I thought that was pretty funny. Where was that one? Yeah, they didn't even try to sell me a book. They just like jumped on in. That one counts. I don't care what anybody says. They didn't try to sell me a book. I don't care. Didn't even try to sell me a book. Still had really good conversation about editing and how editors are narcissistic sociopaths who project their BS onto the poor writers, pretending they are the voice of the reader, when in actuality they are douche bags. Yeah, so that was actually a really good conversation. They didn't even try to sell me books. So I talked to 7 people, and 3 of them didn't read the homework. 3 of them read the homework and did a really good job, and 1 of them just wanted to talk. So I would say that this is good for trying to find people that are on the same journey. But you have to be genuine. Like, I actually checked these people's books out, and they're going to know that I checked their books out. And I know that they're checking mine out. At least one of them is. Stupid Kindle takes a couple days. But I'll see. It'll probably tell me in the morning. But I have actually been doing pretty good at scooting my first story along. Unfortunately, since it's only $1, I only make like 30 cents a piece. But it's scooting right along. And at this rate, I'll sell a couple more. But here's the thing. It's not about the money. And sure, like, if I sell a couple, it offsets me buying a couple of other ones, so it works out. What I'm really going to need out of all this, and what I think they all really need, is reviews. And so let's zippity-doo-dah to that really quick, and let me see how many reviews they all have. The 3 that I just got. Wrong button. I bet you they all need reviews, though. Oh no, one of them has 24. That's not bad. But somebody nuked them at least a little bit. Oh yeah. They got a 1-star and a 2-star. They got the same damn thing that happened to me. Oh no, they got a 1-star. This book jumped around too much. Oh, back from 2021. They got 2 really bad reviews. Bad grammar, stupid premise. Hell yeah. Sounds like my kind of book. Bad grammar and a stupid premise. What's the next one? 25 ratings, 1 star. 25 ratings, 4 stars. What happened to them? Oh, same thing. Let me find them. 2 star. Dude, it says hidden gem, but they got 2 stars. That sucks. And they got one that's 3 stars that also says hidden gems, but they got 3 stars. Oh no. This is so sad. This is the same thing that happened to me. And then this guy or gal only has 9 ratings and they haven't been tanked yet. So yeah, each of these 3 people needs exactly the same thing I need. They need reviews. One of them just needs more reviews. 2 of them need more 5 stars because they got screwed. Amazon needs to do a way better freaking job at curating. If someone says your book is decent, they shouldn't be able to just destroy your rankings because it permanently scars your book. Where was I going with all that? I don't know. Oh yeah, so I need reviews. They need reviews. All of our books are affordable, so this wasn't by any means a deliberate attempt at reader review trading, because I'm sure that would get us in trouble with Twitter and Amazon. But clearly some of these people are just in here for the grift to sell and hustle, and they don't care. So finding people who care, who want to collab, I don't think we're gaming the system. I think I'm learning a lot, and I already can see like 5 more things that I want to do different and better. And who knows, like, hopefully they can figure out something out of all this too. I have no idea. Even if they don't learn anything from me at all, I'm still gonna rate their book and hopefully help them dig out of that hole, that review hole. Two of the 3 of them are in a review hole, and that just sucks. One of them clearly doesn't deserve it. People are saying that it's a hidden gem and giving them 2 and 3 stars. That's just terrible. I feel so my heart really goes out. Oh, that's really sad. So I'm sure these people don't deserve it. So uh, I'm gonna end this one here. I guess this all ended up being Twittery, authory, algorithmy stuff. I think I wanted to talk about like grid down. I always talk about grid down, but folks, try to get solar if you can. Try to get batteries if you can. We have to be ready for grid down this year. And that means get some physical books. Get physical books. Getting them all on PDF and throwing them all in an ebook reader in a Faraday bag is one thing, but try to work on physical books. Go to your libraries. Find physical books. Or go to used bookstores, find physical books. Be ready for grid down. And work on your gardens. And I guess that's it for now for the 2 or 3 of you that listen to this. I really appreciate you. And I'll get this up within the next day or two. Appreciate you all. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.